years gone by. Joining us now is the Joint Managing Director of the Apollo Group, Dr. Sangeeta Reddy. Dr. Reddy, welcome. What are you making of this huge jump in healthcare? What do you know of how this money is likely to be spent, and how would you like Nirmala Sitharaman to be best directing the outlays made for healthcare?
So first, let me begin by congratulating the Finance Minister and the government for a balanced budget, for a critical budget which is taking us out of this pandemic mode and really moving into a revival of the economy and really set the stage for India to become an economic superpower. Coming to the healthcare sector, the much needed focus, the appropriate funding, I think the Atmanirbhar Swasth Bharat Yojana, 64,000 crores approximately over there, 17,000 crores for rural centers, 11,000 crores for urban health centers. Such a good push on primary healthcare. And then recognizing that, clean drinking water is a critical element and a social determinant. 2.8 lakh crores on urban Jal mission. And of course, the vaccine mission is not only well funded with 35,000 crores, our estimate was about 26 to 30,000. Madam FM has gone beyond and provided 35,000. So I think that overall we're seeing a very good budget with an appropriate focus on healthcare. The stage is set for India to become a dominant global superpower in health, taking care of our rural, our urban, our primary and our tertiary, as well as on research.
Just so hold that thought, Rajiv. With an outlay of 35,000 crore rupees for the vaccination program, what would a back of the envelope calculation suggest about how much of the vaccines the government intends to administer? Because so far they've made, they've spoken only of phase 1. How much of phase 2 and phase 3 will be on the government side?
So she said that she is open to allocating more. So she didn't say that this is it. So it's quite possible that they might want to do a lot more than what...
That's a very serious outlay, Dr. Reddy. How much of the vaccination program do you think the government intends to carry on its own shoulders? And how much will be asked for private citizens to go out and buy their own vials and get their own vaccinations done?
No, a better question actually would be, what is the per unit cost? What is her assessment of the per person vaccination cost? The estimates range from 350 rupees to 1,000 rupees per person.
No, but that depends on whether you're getting it done privately or publicly. So 200 rupees is what
per shot.
Serum Institute is charging the government per shot. And 200...
No, there are administrative costs, Rahul. We should not go away from the end. There is an administrative cost, there is a storage cost, there is a logistics cost. So probably Sangeeta might have some estimate about what the actual per item entity cost
So Rahul, if you take it very simply, let's assume 130 crore people don't need vaccination, only about 70% need vaccination. 70% at 400 rupees is 40,000 crore, right? 100 crore people at 400 rupees, 40,000 crore. So maybe 35,000 crore may be raised to 40,000 crore, but eventually it's not going to be much more than this. It should cover a lot more.
Does that suggest that a large part of the burden of vaccination the government's willing to bear on its own shoulders? Is that the suggestion in the budget, Dr. Reddy?
So clearly, I think the price estimate which was discussed is right. It's about 200 rupees for the cost of the vaccine, and approximately 400 rupees is the comprehensive cost, including vial administration, validation, electronic validation. Now, if this budget should cover about 40% of the population quite easily, until that point of time, this is a public health initiative. Once we've done this, the government is quite clear. Phase 1, phase 2 is clearly being covered by them. Subsequent to that, it will be opened up. So I think the stage is set for a very good public health initiative, which makes the country extremely safe. And I think this should be viewed not just as a vaccination program or a public health program, but a preventive health program and a direct path to economic recovery. So I think this is a very significant initiative by the government.
I want to get some political reactions now. Let's go across to Sitaram Yechury, who's in conversation with our colleague Ashutosh Mishra. So this is the CPIM General Secretary. Will be going across to Parliament, getting you some reactions. I'm told that we're just waiting for him to come and start speaking to us. We'll go across at that moment. But what is very clear is that there have been huge allocations for the healthcare sector. I am still perplexed with the absence of defense in the finance minister's speech. What could possibly be, Mihir, the reason behind this, or the thinking behind this? Because you've got at this moment China making very aggressive maneuvers along the line of actual control, and all veterans, including anyone who tracks defense, would have liked to see how much the allocations are being increased by.
I think that's why she didn't want to share it with us.
Yeah, I think that's the thing.
But can I-
think there is
no.
a strategic reason why it's not mentioned.
What is the
Because
strategic reason?
the strategic reason of mentioning a quantum, it pits you against the quantum of the China story. So you don't mention, you prepare for the eventuality, the worst, and don't try and mention a number which puts you at a disadvantage.
But
Well,
also, Rahul,
Arey,
one of the
well
things that has been
How
done.
does that make
one-
sense? That's just like
Well,
Muthiah
it will be there in
Muralidharan
the budget.
spinning it as
The
best as he
number will
can.
be there in the
There
budget
is-
anyway.
Let me ask Subhash Garg, 1 second. Let me ask Subhash Garg. That
Can
is
I-
Shane
Rahul-
Warren, Muthiah Muralidharan, Shankar Iyer, and you spinning.
Rahul,
style,
one of
yes.
the things that happened before the budget about defense was the ban on these 101 items. And these 101 items, if you look at the potential of, ordering those with domestic manufacturers, ultralight helicopters, artillery guns, rifles.
Even this morning,
These-
there's a story of Tata getting the IPR for a
these-
spy plane.
Exactly. These alone would amount to about 4 lakh crore of orders. If this kind of order can be placed with the domestic manufacturers, you could expect a very
No, but you still need
significant-
an outlay for it.
Yeah, it's, you don't, see, defense expenditure will be over like 10 years, 15
But
years.
I
You
think-
you will have an outlay.
So,
It won't, this year, 4.7 lakh crore is going to be spent on defense, which is about 3.5%. Of our GDP, 4.7 lakh crore, which is just about 30,000-40,000 crore higher than last year. So it's not a very significant rise. It's not a significant growth last year from last year's.
I have only one thing to say here, which is that defense is the only sector where this government's obsession with indigenization actually may be important and necessary.
And
all
it's
right?
showing, yeah.
However,
And truly strategic.
and truly strategic,
Yeah.
all right? But the crucial thing that you have to do here is to say, even if you're not laying it out this year, make a credible commitment to buy over the next 5 or 7 years the contracts, or to set out these contracts with the Indian private sector for the things that you're talking about, and say, I will pay you this much 4 years from now, this much 6 years from now, if you fulfill XYZ aspects of these contracts. Then those investments will get made. But that thinking
No,
is
but
not there in
all
government.
this is general medium to long term thinking which Mihir is advocating, but we're in the middle of a military crisis at this moment, and I find it rather odd that
Rahul, clearly, we're not in the middle of a military crisis. All right? If we were in the middle of a military crisis, it would be in the numbers. Believe the numbers.
on the ground we're
Don't
in the middle of a military crisis.
Don't believe
No,
the briefing.
okay, let's hear from Mr. Garg.
See, my sense is the numbers are not rising any significantly. That might be the reason why. the
No, of
government
course,
is-
but why not, sir?
No,
Given
it
the
should
fact
have
that China is
increased.
making the moves that it is, given the fact that we're having to spend as much just to host the Indian troops at those Himalayan glaciers and those heights, we need to allocate more money. It's most obvious and basic, and we need to find the wherewithal to do so.
So that case is unexceptional.
Okay.
More money should have been allocated, especially for the capital expenditure on the defense side, when you have to you stock up yourself and get all the right kind of the new weapons and machines and all. But that has not been done. It looks very clear from the number of capital expenditure which is available, and therefore possibly, since it's not increasing, they've decided not to talk about it.
I think there's another way to look at it. Let's sort of look at it differently. We've never actually managed to spend the capital allocation. It sort of rolls over 1.5 years, 3 years, or whatever. So the expenditure that you are talking about at the borders can be accommodated in unspent or non-spent or postponed capital thing. I think what is
No, but
significant.
that is
and
operational expenditure.
No.
We need to increase capital expenditure on weapon purchases.
No, so this may have already happened. This may not be discussed or disclosed for reasons. But what I agree with you is that a statement on defense preparedness was not underlined in the budget, and that is sort of interesting.
So we're just getting this video clip of the finance minister appraising her own budget as she exits the parliament building. Let's just see if we can listen into what she had to say.
Ma'am, satisfied? Ma'am, are you satisfied with the... How would you rate your own performance, ma'am, out of 10? Okay. So there Nirmala Sitharaman Raman जाते हुए चेहरे पे मुस्कान थी।
Minister who doesn't give himself or herself a 10 on 10, but she has tried. You know, the reality, Sanjeev Ahluwalia, is this is a very unenviable position for any finance minister to be in, given the contraction in the economy, given the kind of challenges on account of China's aggression, on account of the pandemic that we're facing. This is not a happy situation for any finance minister to be in.
Don't believe that.
So my
She's
spin
banking
might
on
be there.
11% growth next
My
year.
spin might
On a very low base.
Well, no, it's based on 11% growth on a 2019-20 base means a lot of bucks on the table which are before you. 35 trillion, right? That's the budget for next year. So that's oh, it disappeared.
Okay, so let's spend a moment looking at how effectively this budget addresses the challenge of growth. And I'll put that question first to Shankar Iyer. How would, you know, forget what they say on TV, but off TV, how would corporate titans be decoding this budget? How much confidence does it inspire in them to go out and invest more?
So here's the thing, there is a lot of push in the infrastructure area. So basic core industry guys, like the steel guys, the cement guys, have a sense of confidence that this kind of spend will happen. They're also confident because last year road building came to sort of a slowdown. This year they will push it. There are various reasons to push it. The other thing is that they're trying to solve some of the issues in the healthcare sector where at a very granular level you will create employment from the process of vaccination to the setting up of that. Now, how this pans out, we'll have to see because some of that funding is contingent and sort of conditional, whether the InvIT gets money and stuff like that. So there is a lot of Nitin Gadkari in the infrastructure story you can see, you know, a lot of his ideas. I suspect the affordable housing.
Which makes perfect sense, Mr. Garg, because the maximum multiplier effect would be for any expenditure the government incurs in roadways and railways.
The extension of affordable housing again is an interesting idea because that would sort of also create the last mile completion issues that are there and then maybe get kickstart some of that. So you have to also consider that as we open up, the multiplier effect will pile in. So it's not going to be a big growth because this 11.5% is really in optics because if you dive into water, you're going to come out vertical. I mean, you know, the V shape is all that. But the addressing the K-shaped issue, I don't see too much of that. That's something that probably will come through.
Would there be at some level some disappointment in elements of the finance ministry when they look at the rationalization in the corporate taxation, which immediately after that or soon after that, you know, saw the pandemic come in, which never led to the government realizing the gains of reducing corporate taxes?
See, the corporate taxes, these don't work in
but
a
you'd
day.
expect that was the government's expectation
So
that when you cut taxes, you'll see
So if you
more
cut taxes to incentivize manufacturing investment, it takes a little while. So that was a right measure accompanied by the PLI is supposed to, and I'm sure this will incentivize investment in manufacturing. The question which you had about the growth impulses, the budget provides in two ways to my mind. One is by increasing the government and the public sector expenditure on capital investment, infrastructure, and secondly, creating the right conditions for the private sector to make that investment. I think on both these scores, there is reasonably good sort of package in the budget. The capital expenditure of the government goes up, and there are a lot of things where private sector investment will also come up. I think this, as far as I said earlier, sounding notes are concerned, this is good.
You know, I've just received information from some of our teams that are analyzing the fine print, and one of that is that the budget is proposing a farm cess of 2.5 rupees on petrol and 4 rupees per litre on diesel. So straight away, petrol and diesel for you, me and everyone who has any kind of a vehicle to ride will go up.
This is disastrous.
Disastrous. Why do you call this disastrous, Mr.
We
Garg?
are already overtaxing these two commodities. Now if you put it more, what...
But you're almost
Ajay,
taking the... Okay.
The only thing, I have to disagree, the only thing disastrous about it is that it is once again a cess. All right, you have to start sharing some of this with the states, which are at the front line of dealing with the pandemic. Otherwise, go ahead, make this stuff more expensive. We have to fight climate change.
You may like
He's
it,
being
but
sarcastic
No,
in
I'm
case
not.
you meet the.
I
in
am
case you
not.
No, 1 second. We already have petrol and diesel at historic levels. And you've now gone and increased petrol prices by 2.5 rupees and diesel prices by 4 rupees straight away. Let Mr. Garg explain why he thinks it's disastrous.
See, today about 40% of the diesel price is of the cess already. If you raise it further, now it was being argued earlier by Ajay very well. Today we are arguing in the context of farm bills that the middlemen need to be sort of eliminated into the equation because they take more profits. Now the biggest part of the cost is coming from the transportation cost and all, and this is being increased by the government. So this will create cost push inflation in the economy. This is absolutely unfair. The economy has to be on the
Ajay
move.
it's supposedly for a farm set.